Hey, 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 love and light to each and every one of you guys. Welcome to the Dope Black Chick Podcast, your audio guide to releasing your dopeness. Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Dope Black Chick Podcast. On this week's podcast, we are going to be in honor of National Travel Week, I believe it is. We are going to be talking to Black women that travel. That's pretty much what it is. Black women that travel and travel a lot. A lot of women want to travel, and especially Black women feel like it's a little hard, a little difficult. So I decided to bring on a guest that does a lot of traveling. And she's going to be able to help you guys sort through some of the myths about traveling, give you some tips on traveling. And then we're going to talk about the travel that she introduced me to. And then we're just going to chop it up. So anyway, today's guest is my cousin, but also blogger, Trena Butler of veganworldtraveler.com. So say hello and tell everybody who you are and what you do. Bam.
Well, actually, it's theveganworldtraveler.com.
Correction.
I wanted to make sure of that. I'm Trena Butler. I go by the moniker Trena Valentino for various reasons. I travel. I mean, that's one of the things that I love. A little bit about me. I'm from South Carolina, a little town called Trenton, South Carolina. Born in Georgia, raised in South Carolina. And I currently reside in Charlotte, North Carolina.
So Trena, travels so much. And she invited me on a trip to, where did we go?
Puerto Rico?
Was the first trip Puerto Rico? I thought the first trip was New York. Maybe the first trip was Puerto Rico.
It was. Yeah, the first trip was Puerto Rico.
Okay, so the first trip was Puerto Rico, and she invited me on this trip. I think I've told you guys about this if you've been listening since the first episode, but she invited me on this trip during the hardest period of my life when I was going through divorce. And it was so needed. It was so necessary. And I get there and I just was enamored with Puerto Rico. And to this day, I still love Puerto Rico. But it was an opportunity for me to kind of evaluate where I was in life and what was happening to me and what I was experiencing. So from then on, it's like she would, pick up the phone and say, hey, you want to come? So-and-so, I'm here. I went to New York a couple of times and enjoyed that with her. And she's just been really out here living her best life traveling. And as a Black woman, a single Black woman, for me, travel is becoming even more pertinent to the fulfillment or enjoyment of my life. So questions for you, Trena. When did you start this? When did you get the traveling bug? I'll put it like that. But I know you personally, so I know you've always been on the go. But tell the listeners, where did the traveling bug come from?
Let's see. So I started having the travel bug right around my junior year in college. I started going on these annual trips with my girlfriends and besties. We would go to Orlando, Florida, Tampa, Florida, places that I had never been before prior to going to college. And I was like, I love this. I like going places, and I'm a spontaneous person. So we would just go on a drop of a dime. Hey, let's go to Atlanta this weekend. Let's go to Florida. Let's go to DC. And I picked it up from that period of time in my life. And I never looked back. And it was funny is when I got out of college, the one thing that I wanted to do was find a job that allowed me to travel. And I did just that.
Okay, so you conquered domestic traveling. Was that the first thing you wanted to do, is conquer domestic traveling before you branched out? Because some people, they feel like domestic traveling isn't really traveling, but it is a great way to open you up to the possibilities of traveling internationally. So talk about your domestic travels and that.
Definitely started off with domestic travel. because I was a little too scary to branch out in international. It wasn't until a few years ago that I actually started.
Let's put a pin in it, because you made a good point, and I want us to kind of like jump on that point before you finish about the domestic travel. But you did say that there was some fear there, and I think that's important because so many people have that fear, that and that's why they don't travel internationally. So let's talk about the fear that you had as a Black woman. I don't know if it was related to being a Black woman or whatever, but just talk about the fear, and then go back into how domestic travel, changed that.
It's funny you should say that, because my fear didn't come from little Black girl or whatever. My fear came from flying. And ironically, you know what I do for a living. I travel and fly, I get on planes every week, and I had this strong fear of flying. And I always had the fear of flying overseas and like, oh my God, we're going to be over water for this many hours. I don't want to do it. I'm scared. But, after years and years of getting on planes, because I worked in consulting for several years, I learned to get over that fear. And that is, then on top of that, I will say had a little bit to do with being from a small town. No, none of my family had ever gotten on a plane before. You doing too much. You need to stay home. That is the culture.
Girl, you
back
gonna
home.
die, dude. You gonna die.
I love my family. I love my hometown, but it's a lot of scary people that do not like to branch out, and it kind of rubs off on you a little bit. And it wasn't until I moved away, to be honest, and saw other experiences that made me want to branch out from what all that I knew growing up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that was it.
So domestic travel, you've been to every state?
Not every state, actually. I want to visit all 50 states. I think I have about 12 to go. I haven't been to Hawaii, Alaska, and all of the states that normally a lot of people wouldn't go, like Montana and Idaho. I still would like to visit, just to say that I've conquered all 50 states. So I have 12 to go.
12 to go. That's pretty good. So how did you transition into international travel? Was it the job took you there first, or?
The job took me there first. So if as you know, in 2010, I moved to New York City to work for the Federal Reserve, and it just so happened that my first assignment was in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and they said, Trena, we have a job assignment in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I know this is your first assignment. Would you like to go? I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course. So I flew to San Juan, and I never looked back. When I flew, it was 3 hours overseas, and I got the hang of that, and I just saw a culture outside of the United States. I just wanted to see more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was the beginning.
And I think Puerto Rico is a good, what do you call it? It's an easy transition because it's still, of course, it's part of the U.S. and you're getting that immersion in the culture.
Correct.
Puerto Rico that you don't get if you go, to Montana. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go to Puerto Rico, you're gonna feel like you're miles away. But it's still home. You know what I'm saying?
Like I
felt very safe in Puerto Rico. I didn't have any of those questions that I would have when I go to a different country. I think, and I think that reason was because I knew like this is still the United States. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like I was getting off the plane for New York. So I just didn't even think that way. So I think it's a good entry trip for anybody who is ready to be to do international travel where you're immersed in the culture, a culture that's different than American culture. So tell people how easy it is to actually travel.
I mean, it's very easy. A lot of people was like, I don't know what to do. Do I need a travel agent? Do I need this? And I mean, it's not as hard as it seems. I'm a part of a travel group called No Madness Travel Tribe. It's very popular right now. I think we have like 2,000 or 3,000 members all across the United States. And basically, you just sign up for these websites, Priceline.com, Travelocity, Expedia. And if you want to go somewhere about maybe a month or two in advance, you just kind of watch the flights. And a lot of times you can catch really good deals on those flights if you just watch those websites. For instance, when I went to Africa last year, a lot of people was like, oh, Africa is super expensive. But I had been monitoring those websites for about 2 months until I saw a very good deal. And I think I got a round trip flight to Africa was for like $750. And normally it's about $2,000 and upward to go to South Africa. And you just have to research. It's not that hard. You just watch. I would do a little planning. I wouldn't do it last minute, but I would wait about maybe no more than 3 months or less before you want to go somewhere, and just watch those websites because they always have deals. Always.
Now we're going to talk about Africa because that's the goal for most Black people is to visit Africa. But let's talk about Iceland, girl. When you call me and you're like, hey, you want to go to Iceland? I'm like, boo. No, ma'am.
People weren't ready. People weren't ready for Iceland then.
I'm not trying to, Iceland, like, what in the world made you think I want to do Iceland? Like, when I think of places to travel, for one, I don't know if y'all can tell by the skin color, but I am a tropical person. I am not thinking of going anywhere where it's cold. That's why New York is not a good place for me. I don't even like New York like that. But let me tell y'all something. I want to be where it's sunny and I can be half naked on the beach. Out of all the places in the world, that's usually, Iceland would never be like one of my picks and saying, hey, I want to go to Iceland. So tell me, where did the Iceland idea come from? And then tell us your experience.
So this is going to be a little shallow. I wanted to go to Iceland when I saw Beyonce and Jay-Z had went to the Blue Lagoon, and they were sitting there chilling in the lagoon in Iceland. And I was like, how cool is that? I'm like, God, where are they at? Reykjavik, Iceland. I was like, that's where I want to go. I want to go to Iceland because guess what? I've always gravitated to the unfamiliar. I've never been a follower, and I've always wanted to go places that not a lot of people have gone. And I knew that Iceland was one of them. And when I first went, people laughed. They was like, why are you going to Iceland? But now, if you notice, a lot of people are starting to go there. That is a popular destination for people, even Black. My trip there, it was cool. It was like, we flew out of Baltimore, Maryland. Stephanie Bibbs from back home went with me, but she flew from New Orleans. It was a 5-hour trip, and we went on Wild Airlines, but let me just say, don't fly Wild because I think they don't do that. I think something happened to their airlines and they bellied up. There's a lot of articles. So if you're listening to this, don't do Wild Airlines, okay? But we got there we went in May. We went in May, and it was cold. It was like 30 degrees there, but not that cold. Iceland, beautiful place, clean water. They speak very good English. We went to the Blue Lagoon, beautiful. So if it's 30 degrees, it was 30 degrees outside, but the water was 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you got in the water, as long as you stayed in the water, you were not cold. And it's just a gorgeous place. The food is good. We drove countryside. We went to the black sand beaches. I had never seen the black sand beach before.
How many Black people did you see, though? You saw some black sands, but how many Black faces did you see?
Maybe 3. There was a Jamaican restaurant there. A Jamaican lady actually lived in Iceland. She migrated from Jamaica, and she had a very popular restaurant there. But out of the 5 days that I was there, I only saw 3 Black people.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
I'm not going to do it. Let me tell you something. I believe in the safety of myself, and there is safety in numbers.
They don't have crime there.
Anytime
crime
a Black person is around white folks, that's a crime. It's a crime waiting to happen. I can't do it. I can't. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I mean, I lived through you and saw it, and I think it was beautiful.
So would you do Alaska?
Yes, I definitely want to do Alaska, but Black people are in Alaska.
Yeah, but only because of probably the military.
Exactly.
There, you know, there's a military base in Iceland, right? A friend of mine that I work with, who's
Why
Black,
did you
was
go over
stationed.
there? Why you didn't go over there? Like,
Two of my Black friends were stationed in Iceland, and they said they loved it. There is a military Air Force military base right by the Blue Lagoon.
Are they high
Yep.
yellow?
Huh?
Are they high yellow?
No, they're asking complexion. Oh, and Simone is darker than you. She's dark skinned. She had her baby in Iceland.
Well, congratulations, Simone. ISIS won't be there. Definitely won't.
When I saw Beyonce go there, I was like, I want to do what B's doing. And honestly, that's what it was. That was the motivating factor for Iceland.
I mean,
would I go back?
I would do it if I had B's money. Yeah, you know, when you
it wasn't expensive.
No, not about the fact that it's expensive, but when you have that kind of money, that status of money, you get a different experience. And I would definitely go then because I wouldn't worry about how many Black people are there because I'd probably bring all my Black friends with me. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's just not for me. But let's talk about Africa. Let's talk about Africa.
Oh,
what are you? Well, you already gave us a tip on getting flights to Africa, something that you can do because a lot of people want to do it. They just feel like Africa is that trip that is that once in a lifetime trip, which I think is beginning to change now. I don't know why we feel like Africa is just so far away from us and so unattainable when it's right. Like it's as much as we travel to other countries, when it comes to Africa, people think of it like, oh man, you're only going to do this once. You can go just as often as you go to Paris and London and all these other places. You can do it. But anyway, so talk about, when you decided, okay, I'm going to go to Africa, the things that were necessary to make it happen, and then just talk about your experience in Africa.
Oh man, so my friend Ebony Vaughn, she lives in Chicago. She's from Chicago. We worked together years ago, and we're still good friends to this day. She's like my travel partner. And she's like, yo, I see some flights. I know we've been looking at some flights in Africa. Please look at this tonight. And I was like, okay. So I got online, Travelocity.com, and they were flights for $750. She's like, let's do it. And I was like, bump it, let's go. So I booked my flight that night, and I said, we'll figure out the hotel later. So we did that, and luckily, since I travel, a lot of my hotel points kind of contributed to that trip too. So when you travel and you get those hotel points, they come in handy sometimes. So between that and then the flight was 22 hours. 22 hours each way.
Mm-hmm.
So going over there, we had a layover in Paris. So it was a 11-hour flight from Chicago to Paris and another 11-hour flight from Paris to Cape Town, South Africa. Long flight, definitely worth it. We got there at midnight, and it's just a gorgeous place. And a lot of people think, oh, Africa, man, Cape Town, South Africa looks like South Los Angeles, California. Palm trees, beautiful aqua blue water, mountains in the background, Gucci stores, Louis Vuitton stores. Somebody got some money somewhere.
Oh yeah.
The fresh air. And this was, when I went, this was right around the time the movie Wakanda came out. And they were playing Wakanda song.
Black Panther.
Oh yeah. Did I? Yeah. I said Wakanda. Y'all know what I mean. Black Panther. Yeah, Wakanda. I literally went to a real life Wakanda, man. It's I can't even explain the beauty over there that any Black person, I would say, please go see it. The culture's different though. The men, they love you. The women, they're standoffish. They look at you up and down, and I don't know if it's a culture thing or not, but the men are very friendly. Welcome home, sister. You know, it's super cheap over there. Black women, if you listening to me right now, if you go to Africa, I would say Cape Town. Don't get your Senegalese twists or your braids here in the States. You wait till you go over there, okay? I asked the lady, how much does it cost to pay for Senegalese braids that would be probably $300-400 here, $25 in US dollars, not their money, US dollars. It's cheap. You can live like a queen over there. The food is good too. I got my cocoa, I got my shea butter, my herbs, my African soap, black soap, all of that stuff is over there. It's authentic. It's made from scratch. It's just an experience of a lifetime. You gotta go.
I want you to talk about, well, as we wrap up, I just want you to kind of tell everybody the importance of traveling. Importance of, especially to Black women who are listening, because that's the majority of our audience. What is the importance of adding travel to your life?
Man, so many reasons. Traveling is therapeutic because the Black woman has so many stresses in their lives, from work to taking care of the kids, to taking care of the husband, taking care of the house. And it's a healthy way to just relax and just have some me time, whether it's with your girlfriend, significant other, or just by yourself. It's therapeutic. It's healthy to travel. And most importantly, you get to experience life outside of your current surroundings. There's more to life than where you live. Trust me. When you experience life outside of where you live, you're a changed person forever.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the show and being a part and, sharing your expertise, and hopefully women are inspired to travel more and use it as a form of self-care. All right, guys, make sure that you share the show. Make sure that you subscribe, like, rate, review, all of that good stuff. We're available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Castropolis.net, and of course, you can always check us out now on our very own website, thedopeblackchick.com. So head on over there and you can hear the show as well. Until next time, peace and blessings.
Peace.